Hey, what's up, guys? It is Rapmark here. So, doing my part two of The Bad Batch. Very delayed. So, this is going to cover episodes 9 through 16, I believe. Yes, 9 through 16. And then yeah. So, first of all, let me get into what I've thought of the Bad Batch so far, season one. Um, I do enjoy the story for the most part, um, but I feel that Omega has taken an unnecessarily very high importance in it. Most of the episodes from which, and I will talk about them in my breakdown, um, are largely the ones where she is not present, sidelined. Those are to me some of the best ones. Um I do enjoy, again, I enjoy having like characters we saw in Clone Wars make an appearance in here. And then I have seen Rebels. I think in my first video I mistook Rebels for Resistance. I have not seen Resistance, but I have seen Rebels. So yeah, it was super cool seeing some of those characters as well as ones you don't see until Rebels. As the Resistance is getting more organized and built up. But unfortunately, uh, it doesn't do, I think, justice to what I was hoping for and wanting. The Bad Batch themselves. Uh, like Omega, she just she and like I know that what they're trying to do and portray her as this, really good, caring person who wants to do the right thing, but it's just like there are so many times where it's just like she will literally, make them go somewhere in what would otherwise be a suicide mission. Uh, which again I will get into. Um, and I don't know, she's just the way she's written. It just I can never fully buy into her. She just seems like way too important for like what's going on at this point in time in the lore and in the timeline. It's kind of sad. Another complaint I have is there is a lot of filler in here. There is quite a few episodes of filler in here. Um, I mean, I know Clone Wars had that, Rebels had that, but I mean these filler ones, you really feel them, unfortunately, just because they don't seem well written, in my opinion. They don't, grasp onto the concepts, which would be cool, but I don't know. Like, in all honesty, I think this was designed to cater to children, but at the same time, it goes to for the least common denominator, if that makes sense. I mean, you can have stuff like, Clone Wars, um, Andor, whatever. I mean, maybe, and have them see that, and it's just like, Mandalorian. That too is designed for kids, but it deals with its topic seriously and in a mature way. And I just don't feel like it does that, And that's another complaint I had with like shows like Boba Fett, where it's just like, man, they are really making him dumb, and all of the badass scenes are pretty much given to Fennec Shand, and it's like Okay. So, I don't know. I just don't think they write it to the lowest common denominator of children. And that's unfortunate because there are a lot of good concepts in here. And there are some good episodes which, kind of have brought it up. Um, but on the whole, like, just the contrivances that exist within this series, the tropes, it's it just is really disappointing because I wanted this to be great, and it kind of dampens my enthusiasm for season two, which I will be doing still. But I mean, it just I don't know. So, what would I ultimately give the whole season now that I've seen the whole thing? Uh, Honestly, I'm probably sitting at like a six, to be honest, because again, I like the animation. The animation was amazing. The music was amazing. I did like the team for the most part, and the characters, but I just couldn't go all in on Omega, and I just don't like the writing, and the story is just like, ugh. It's kind of painful to watch at times. Um, so ultimately, I'd probably put this at a six. It is slightly above average, and this is, yeah, it's just a six, like plain and simple. Again, there's just so many flaws with this series as it is, that I can't give it any more than that because I personally enjoyed it. Like I said, I did enjoy the characters, and there were episodes in here that I actually really did enjoy. But I mean, on the whole, there were so many, like the whole Omega thing, and you know, some of the filler episodes. I'm just like, I can't. I just can't. So anyway, that those are sort of my thoughts on the series as a whole so far. So let's go for the episode breakdown. So we left off on episode. We did episode 8, which now that I watch it, it's just like episode 9 and 8 were like a mid-season, like two episode parter. So I wish I had done episode 9 with episode 8, but it's fine. It's fine. We'll go for it. But anyway, episode 9. So Bounty Lost. So this takes place after, literally, like, continues the events of episode 8, Reunion. Um, so Cad Bane has Omega, you know, and he's going to drop her off for who is it, Lama Su? Yeah, Lama Su. He sends Tanway, who both of those characters from episode 2 of Star Wars. I do remember that. But the scientist, Nala Se, um, she, because she has, like, the orders are to capture her, extract the viable genetic material, and then eliminate her. But Nala Se does not want to do that, so she sends essentially Fennec to go rescue her. And so yeah, on this, so fairly simple. I did not enjoy this episode as much as episode 8, which I believe I gave a 9 to. It deserved it. And don't get me wrong, the action was great. The fighting between Cad Bane and Fennec Shand was really, really cool to watch, and I really enjoyed it. Um, and then Omega's escape. It seemed really fairly convoluted, but I'll go for it. And yeah, they're all reunited. So that's episode 9. This one, literally, it's just Cad Bane and Fennec that sort of save this one for me. Like the Bad Batch, they don't know where she is until she gets a communication out. She does escape a couple times. Cad does capture her, but then Fennec, frees her. But yeah, just the Fennec Shannon Cad Bane fight was amazing, and Tanway does get killed in this one by Fennec Shan. So the end of a character. And okay, so that's that one. So I would give that one I think we're gonna give this one a 7 out of 10. Those two, while they brought it up for sure, it wasn't enough to bring it up higher than that, because it seemed very tropey to me, very predictable. So yeah. So then we go on to Common Ground, which I actually really, really enjoyed this episode. And surprise, surprise, it's one in which Omega gets left behind. And then she has her own little story. Anyway, so... But this takes place on Raxus, which was the head of the Separatist government in the Clone Wars. And I like this one because it showed, again, like, what it was like for planets, on the Separatist side to essentially... Or even on the Republic side, once the Empire was set up, what it's like for the Imperial troopers to come in and take over a planet. I mean, you have the senator, Avi Singh. He essentially is told to, get his people to support the Imperial occupation. It's for their protection. But then he's just like, this isn't right. He has second thoughts, and then he just totally bashes the Empire and their occupation. He gets arrested immediately, but he sends his droid to go and hire someone to rescue him, essentially, and get him off of the planet. And it goes to who else? Sid. So they go off, leave Omega there because they know it's dangerous. It's a very heavily occupied planet, essentially. And I love this because, again, you have like action scenes. Like they go in. And is Crosshair there? I'm trying to remember. It's been a couple days since I've seen the episode, so I apologize. Um, I don't believe so. I think this is just sort of a side thing, but whatever. But anyway, they go in, and it's kind of it kind of shows, but it doesn't really go into depth. It's just like, oh, we don't want to save this guy. He was, for the Separatists, and then they're working for essentially a droid, and they're not a fan of that either. Again, for Clone Wars reasons, but it doesn't really delve deep into it. And then by the end, it's like it's so lightly glossed over and then completely forgotten about in the episode. And it's one of many things to where I'm just like, this was a great episode, but I wish they would have held on to and expanded upon certain themes of these episodes that they go on to. Um, but it doesn't, and it's unfortunate. Anyway, they do escape with the senator. I like it because, and I like that part because, it essentially is like the heavy tanks, the Walker tanks. It shows like a battle with that. Um, walking through like alleyways and stuff like that. There's the tension kind of wasn't like they tried to build up the tension, um, but I mean it's the Bad Batch. Like so, there were a few things where the tension I don't think was as high as they meant it to be in this one. But at the same time, I did think the action was good, and I did like seeing, like the different vehicles, you know, the troopers going against, trying to stop this escape. Anyway, they get out, and Singh starts to have second thoughts, but then Hunter's just like, live to fight another day. And then I think it's the droid or someone, I don't remember. It's just like, how can you help your people if you're imprisoned? So that's that. This one, I think it's a very strong 8. I love the action. Oh, I've almost forgot that the other sideline. So while Omega is left behind, she essentially plays Dejarik, which is sort of like the 3D type chess that you see sometimes in Star Wars. And she apparently is really good at it because she's really good at strategy. And so she essentially plays and pays off the Bad Batch's debt. And then that is never covered again because there are multiple episodes in which they are still short of money, can't afford food, and I'm just like, come on. Like, what do you do? And they're still essentially working for Sid. It's just, it's aggravating. So that's why it brings it down a couple of points. But yeah, a good episode all around. So it moves us down to episode 11, The Devil's Deal. So this is in Ryloth. So this one sort of has an intro origin story for Hera Syndulla, who is in Rebels. And I believe is also mentioned in Rogue One, I believe. But anyway, so Cham Syndulla is a freedom fighter, and then Orm Free-Taa, both of those from the Clone Wars, rival politicians. One's a freedom fighter, one's a politician. And yeah, and this one I felt it was a good thing and purpose, like a good idea. Like I see again what they were trying to do, but it was executed in such a non-interesting and lame way, and one that gave Omega way too much importance and essentially authority as well. So essentially, her uncle, I believe, is it her uncle? I don't know. It says his lieutenant, but I think they're related as well on some point. Gobi. So there's a secret missing, and she's already in trouble. Like, it's just like, because Orn Free-Taa is essentially waiting for him to mess up so that he can, move against him, because he's still very popular with the people. The Empire's here. They're essentially they've put in a new mine to boost employment, and they're having everyone turn in their weapons. Um, but not everyone believes in that. So Gobi is going to essentially, like, he lies to Hera, essentially saying it's a pickup. You know, they're picking up someone, um, and no, they're actually picking up weapons. And as they go off, Crosshair's there, and he gets a tracker on them. Anyway, they get weapons. It's from the Bad Batch. Hera meets Omega. You know, they get talk, become friends, and for some weird reason, she gives her the emergency signal to the Bad Batch's ship, and it's just like, why? It'll come into play later, but yeah, and but yeah, as they come back, Crosshair tracks them, and then Guile and Hera are in there, and Ormfrey is all about trying her for treason and getting her executed. So her parents at this point have to act. So they do. They attack the convoy. Um, Hera escapes, and then Senator he's shot because his usefulness is at an end. You know, the people don't respect him. They don't like him. They're all about Cham Syndulla, who did infinitely more for Rylak than Senator Ta did. So Sham, Guile, and Eleni are all arrested. So this one, I like the intro. I like of Hera. I did like the concept. And considering the Bad Batch were barely mentioned in this one, like, it felt fairly disassociated from the series, to be honest. But I still so I'd probably give this one a 6. This one I'm definitely giving a 6. All right, and then Rescue from Ryloth. So part 2, essentially. Hera now contacts Omega through the emergency signal. That why did Omega give her this? Like, contrived. It's super awkward. But anyway, asks the Bad Batch to help rescue the parents. You know, and Hunter initially speaks out against it. It's just like, no, this is definitely not worth the risk. You're going deep into it. And then Omega is just like, but we need to do this and whatever. And it's just like, come on. You know, they're already on their way to a mission. You know, they're to get paid because they need to get paid. And yeah, it's just nuts. So anyway, they go, and essentially they're offered like a bunch of money to do it. They accept. They look, and they're going to leave, but she again talks them into helping. You know, oh my gosh! And at the end of it, they don't even take the money. Like, what was the point of that? It's like, again, I get, you know, they're establishing the starts, the origins of the rebellion, but like, it was such a horribly executed episode, in my opinion. But anyway, so they go in. Crosshair is here. He's with his team. And then you have a clone Captain Howitzer, who he warns them essentially about a trap that Crosshair has set up for him. And then he has this speech where he talks, and then there's other people's, and they all get arrested. and you don't hear anything about them. Like, I don't remember seeing them in any other Star Wars stuff, and even looking at the wiki, that's it. That's the end of their story. So they were probably imprisoned and killed for treason, essentially. So yeah, but anyway, the Bad Batch, they get the parents, they get Gile, and they escape. And here's where you meet Admiral Rampart. So he's there. He realizes he underestimates the Batch, and then gives Crosshair the permission to hunt them down. So this one I give a 4 because this one was utterly disappointing. Again, they gave Omega way too much authority here, way too much gravitas, whatever you want to call it. And it makes no sense. Like, why would they go in and do this? And again, it's just to move the sort of plot around, to give it some sort of oomph. But I don't know. It was an interesting idea, but just horribly executed, to my point, to be honest. So, all right. So after that, we go into Infested. So 13, and here's where Sid gets overthrown by someone named Roland. And she has to get it back from him. So essentially, she's going to steal some spice that Roland is holding for the Pike Syndicate, waiting payment. And yeah, and the thing is just I know they're trying to establish it as a somewhat emotional connection to her and try to be. It just doesn't hit that way for me. She's made it clear multiple times that she doesn't give a crap about these guys. She doesn't care. They are just people earning a paycheck. And they paid off their debt, and they're still short of there's no loyalty there, and they should have just left. But Omega again says, no, she needs us, and so they go and they do it, and it's just why? Ugh. But they did bring an interesting thing. So there's a hive of Erlings that are in the tunnels that they need to go to get to steal the spice. And it's just but they didn't play it up enough. There was no tension in that scene, and it could have been, because holy crap, there is she tells them don't make noise, and they do make noise, both times, going back and forth, and nothing happens because of it. Yeah, they're stirred up a little bit before they get to the one side. But seriously, there was no tension, and the only thing that actually stirred them was the engines from Roland's gang that's chasing them. So anyway, they get it, but they're attacked on the way there. And they lose the spice. So the Pike Syndicate comes out. And again, I would have loved to have heard more about the Pike Syndicate. Everyone loves the Pike Syndicate. These are guys you don't mess with. They will destroy you and everything you love. These are bad guys. But yeah, it's barely played upon, and it sucks. So anyway, Roland's guards are overwhelmed. They get killed by the Pikes. They're going to go and essentially kill him. And so they go and retrieve the spice, and again with all this noise, it's just like, come on. And then they do. Uh, they manage to get everything up, but then another cart falls into the hole, stirs them up, and it's just like, what's gonna happen? But then they drop a bomb of light, and then the bugs disperse, and that's it. And it's just like, that was anticlimactic. So anyway, they go deliver the spice, everything's taken care of, and Roland loses a horn, and that's that. And then Sid reclaims her parlor, and the Bad Batch goes back to working for her. This is definitely filler, not very good filler, and pointless. Like, there's no loyalty there, and yet they're going to. It's whatever. I don't know. I hope they do something with Sid that makes me go on to her, because at this point I was just like, why are you fucking helping her? It seemed stupid. So anyway, off with that. This one's a 5 because again they introduced the Erlings, and then they brought in the Pike Syndicate, but they didn't do anything with them. And again, this is filler, not very good filler. I don't like how they did the whole Sid thing. I don't like how again Omega just they're trying to play the way they're trying to play her is just like the conscience. But unfortunately, again, she's young. She's not very worldly. She's kind of naive, and it's just like, So yeah, 5. This is very average and ultimately disappointing. So we go on to 14, War Mantle. So they are contacted by Rex. Rex makes a brief appearance in a radio message here. So they are going to help a friend who, as it turns out, is a Commando Gregor, who does make an appearance in Rebels and dies in Rebels, to be honest, if I remember that episode correctly. I think he was also mentioned in Clone Wars at some, like late in the game of Clone Wars. But yeah, that's such a I don't remember much about him, but he is a part of the lore, so that's cool. So essentially, he was brought there to. So a distress signal was planted. He was brought there to train new recruits, which will be replacing the clones. And he gets recaptured. And yeah, that's where they find out the clones are essentially being replaced by conscripted troopers, which aren't as good as the clones, but they have huge numbers. So anyway, they infiltrate the base, and Omega and Wrecker stay in the ship to rescue Breger, but Hunter's captured while they do that. And man, that fall is incredible that he took to do that, so whatever. And Omega flies the ship, and I'm just like, wait a second, because in episode 11, it's established she doesn't drive until she memorizes all the parts. Whatever. I mean, I guess at the end of episode 12, something is said that it's just like, go ahead, but whatever. It's a little dumb, but again, it's them making Omega more awesome than she really needs to be. And I don't know, series like this, they tend to do that, and it really is unfortunate, because I feel it caters to the lowest common denominator, because most kids would get something like they love and get stuff like Mandalorian, and this is just so toned down and contrived and tropey. It's annoying and grating at times. So anyway, there's a second thing on Kamino where Lamasu and Nalase they need to escape because essentially the Empire's just canceled all their contracts, and Lamasu realizes that they'll probably destroy them rather than just let them be and continue. So yeah, they get captured, and Nalase is taken off world as well as essential personnel, um, because they're going to use their cloning themselves, but they have no use for Lamasu, and I don't know if I just didn't hear it or if it was really quiet, but you don't hear any gun blasters, you don't hear anything, so you don't know if he's dead. It just shows the door closing and a couple of clone troopers going in there. Well, I don't know if they're clones or just conscripts, but so it's assumed he's dead, but we don't know, and that's how that ends. So this one I did actually do, and I did enjoy, and the animation just looks really great. It looks great in everything, but I mean anything with Kamino, especially when you come to the last two episodes, which I'll talk about here, it looks amazing, and I love it. So anyway, I am going to give this one a 7. I did enjoy this one. I was not... hold on. Sorry, headphone was sneaking off my head. Anyway, I did enjoy this one. I did think it was fun. Not one of my favorites, but it moved the plot along to essentially where we get to in the last two episodes. So, 7 out of 10 here. Alright, Return to Kamino. So, this is the culmination. This is the... So it's not the last episode, so, God, I've already choked this one up. But anyway, so you're in Tipica City on Kamino. So, again, the Empire has evacuated all the personnel and killed everyone else. And I don't know what they've done with them. There's no bodies. But yeah, I mean, they just brutally killed everyone that they didn't need. So there's that. So Crosshair activates his Hunter's comm link to lure the Bad Batch where they're going. And they take Omega back there, even though they said they will never go back there. But she understands. How are they going to get there? Through essentially a secret platform that goes to a tube that leads to Nalase's secret laboratory where they were created, where Boba and Omega were created. And they find AZ, the droid from the very beginning of the series. So, anyway, they find Hunter, and then they try to have the inhibitor chip, convince him to have his inhibitor chip removed, but, Crosshair is just like, it's already moved. I've always been this way, and it's just like, oh my gosh, when did he get it removed? Doesn't matter. I'm sorry, it does matter. Like, come on. I mean, we get that they all have their different personalities. They all are who they are. But, I mean, that's a pretty big deal. So maybe they'll cover it in season two, whatever. Anyway, so they fight, and then Omega activates way too many of the like it's cool because uh, Crosshair wants them to stand down, work for the Empire, and when he tells his team to stand down, they say no. So he literally fires one shot and it ricochets and kills all of them. So that was pretty cool. But anyway, him and Hunter fight, and then more troopers come in. But then the drones are activated, the training drones, and she activates too many of them, and so they're all fighting together. The team is together, yay! But it ends up in a really weird way. Um, as soon as they down all of them, they as soon as they down all of the drones, Hunter stuns Crosshair, takes him with her. Admiral Rampart, he makes an appearance again. He essentially just says, let the clones die, all of them. So he's essentially written off Crosshair. I mean, he's just being used, and it's under the orders of Tarkin. So he just destroys Tipica City with the Bad Batch and Crosshair still inside. And let me tell you, the animation of this bombardment is stunning. It looks amazing, like probably one of the best animation things I've seen in any Star Wars work. One of, at least. I mean, the bombardment of Mandalore was pretty epic as well. But anyway, yeah, that's how it ends up. It looks amazing. This one, I would give. This one I'm giving a 7 because again, while I love having the team together again, while I loved the animation, the destruction of Tipico City, again, it was just handled super weird, like, and then with Omega involved, she essentially creates more and wastes more time than needs to be wasted and created, and yeah. So, unfortunately, I wish I could give it higher, but this one does get a 7. I was thinking 8, but again, I just couldn't do it. So that moves us to the last episode of the season and the close of this video. So, Camino Lost. So again, the animation of this episode is completely beautiful, and I love it. The wreckage of the city sinks into the ocean. So, and the Empire leaves. They have to, and the Bad Batch have to escape the city before it emerges. So, Omega, AZ, and Crosshair are trapped in a flooding room, and Omega has to save Crosshair. Which she does with her bow, gets him free, and then the rest of the Bad Batch are in the other room trying to pry the doors open. To get them open, get them out. And then they try to escape them. And then as they're going, the wreckage just goes on the floor. And then the group make their way to a tube that leads to the ship. And anyway, so the first of the tubes, there's no power. They have to cut through, and then this giant sea creature comes, and normally it stays away because there's power, and it electrifies it. So anyway, AZ goes, turns on the power, and there's just enough power to turn that on, shock the creature, and make it leave. And then it shorts out, and just like, that's convenient. That, yeah. Um, and so they're able to climb up, get into uh, Lamasu's, or not Lamasu, but Nala Say's lab. But the tube going from the lab to the platform is destroyed. So what do they have to do? They decide to get into the medical capsules, birthing capsules for the clones, and ride them to the top, but wreckage is still coming down. So AZ comes and guides them, and he's starting to lose power. His battery is dying, and I'm just like, I know what they're doing, and I'm just like, all right, we'll see what happens. So anyway, they all get up safely. Omega's gets trapped behind some debris, and AZ frees her, and then goes up, but then his battery dies, and that's that. Or so you think, because Omega's just like, I'm going after him. And it's just like, they couldn't even do the sacrificial thing. It's just like, come on. Like, it was, it was annoying. But anyway, she gets saved, Crosshair saves them, and then they reach the ship, and Crosshair parts ways. And just the dialogue was it was really cheesy. It's just like, just because we're on the same side doesn't mean we have to be enemies or something like that. And it's just like, the Empire and the Rebels doesn't quite add up, does it? And I don't know. It was cheesy dialogue. And then it shows Nala Se was brought to an Imperial facility. And yeah, that's the end of season 1. So once again, so what would I give this one? I give this one a 5, because as beautiful as it was horribly written, in my opinion. Again, they couldn't sacrifice, and that's the problem with this thing, is it was so catered to the lowest denominator of kids. All deaths are done off screen. Again, the conscripted soldiers can't shoot for shit. That's just a running joke that's existed all throughout the universe. So that's whatever. And just the whole Crosshair thing, like, it's not as compelling as I think that they want it to be. It just really isn't. Like, what is the point of him going back to work for the Empire? Literally, let the clones die. That's what Rampart said. And yet he's going to be picked up by a scout, and he knows he said it. Like, oh my gosh, it's just so, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. So anyway, yeah, that's why this show, the season at least, gets a 6 for me. While I did enjoy a lot, like a few of the episodes, a lot, the animation was great. The music was amazing for like all the action, for everything. And again, I liked the characters they were bringing into it. But again, Omega just takes over way too much importance. It's just too much. So and it just, yeah, it's just not something I can get by. Anyway, that is my thoughts for this first season of The Bad Batch. We will begin season two uh, as soon as possible. So, anyway, I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time. See ya.